Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleep and dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. Well, this evening is it's one dream, a short dream, but in three little parts, and it's interesting because the therapist, that is me, actually appears in it. But we'll get right into it and find out what's going on. The dreamer reports that they were cycling with their sister in law, who said that she was going to be returning back to her home in South America in November, and it gives a very specific date, November the 28th. The dreamer says to the sister-in-law that they had still lots to do before she left, and they go back to number 70, another number. I'm not sure what that's about, but there was a friend there waiting with a trailer with bikes. I'm assuming motorbikes rather, or motorcycles rather than regular push bikes, and was looking for something. This friend was looking for something. The dreamer also then reports that the dreamer's wife was waiting for the dreamer and the sister-in-law, and but both of who were in a mood. Both this person with the trailer and the wife were in some kind of mood. Then I appear, believe it or not. The dream reports that I met a friend of the dreamers and that we were engaged in a martial arts competition or activity with each other. Finally, in the last part of the dreamer reports that the he was having a conversation with someone that reminded him of a friend, a female friend, and during this conversation had gotten his new sneakers, new trainers, wet by accidentally stepping into a little ornamental stream. And but the location of this conversation was on the grounds of either a gas station on a highway, a motorway, or the a racing team's headquarters, and the dream ends there. So there's a lot going on. So as I always say, that little dreams can mean pack a lot of information into what seems to be a relatively short dream. But we'll break it down and we'll see what's going on here. And the first thing is this sister-in-law that the dreamer is going cycling with somewhere or other, and states that there are things that they need to do before the sister-in-law returns to her home. My first question here was, well, what things is one question. The other one is very specific about dates in this part of the dream. I mean, a specific date for a departure, the number 28, which, if you're into numerology, you add it together, that's 10 or 1, which means a new beginning. And then there's the number 70. Now, it seems to be that they're referring, this number 70 refers to up the number of on a building or something like that, an address, but the number 70. Seven is a spiritual number, a holy number, if you will, 7 days, etc. But there's just something about numbers here that seems to be important. And I would ask the dreamer here if there's any significance that they attach to the number 28 or the number 70 or 7, or possibly the numbers 1 or 10 because of numerology. I put that out there. There's also this theme of movement. The dreamer is is cycling somewhere, I assume on bicycles, with the sister-in-law. And as I've said in the past, what vehicles or travel represent um, in our dreams, our journey through life, literally. Sometimes we're on foot, sometimes we're on a bike, sometimes we're on a jet, but it represents the movement of our life. Sometimes we're even at a standstill. But in this case, the movement is forward, but at a leisurely or slow pace, and it seems to be that they're going at their own pace. And I wonder here for the dreamer whether they are proceeding towards a particular goal or goals at their own speed, at their own pace. There seems to be something about going somewhere under their own power. Now, this again, we talk about movement and travel. You have the sister-in-law flying off back to her home in South America, which you obviously have to take a jet to get there. So this is again movement, but movement that's much more rapid and high powered, and it's somebody else that's doing the work, if you will, that's actually putting the power into it. The dreamer, in a sense, or the sister-in-law rather, would be along for the ride. It's not under her own power; it's under someone else's power. So there's something about movement forward, but slower, more leisurely, self-powered movement, as opposed to something pushing forward the sister-in-law in a much quicker way. Now, there's also something about the sister-in-law herself. Now, it could be, in a sense, a stand-in for the wife, or actually representing, in a sense, the dreamer's inner female or anima. And the anima, or the inner female that every male has, just as every female has an inner male or animus, represents connection, relationship, so feeling. And I wonder if this is an indication, perhaps, to the dreamer about relationships and connection. Maybe there's something that's in terms of their relationships that needs to be looked at. It could even be not necessarily the relationship to other people. It could be the relationship to himself. Now, again, I come back to the dates, and that these dates or numbers are very, very specific. And again, I would ask a dreamer here: does the number 28 or 7, 1, or perhaps 10 have any particular significance for the dreamer? And being that it gave a date from the last month, I would ask, did anything in particular happen on November 28th that was of significance, or perhaps anticipating something that could happen between now and next year on the 28th? You can play with this in any number of ways, including, if November is 11 and 28 and for the day, if you're expecting something to happen in 11 or 28 days. The 70 or 7, if you strike off the 0, where is this, or what is this 70 that the dreamer and the sister-in-law are returning to? What is that? It seems to be an address of a building, perhaps, but perhaps it means something else. Once the dreamer and the sister-in-law arrive at this place, this number 70, there's another friend there, and who may or may not be male or female, is hard to tell. It's not specified, but they're waiting there with a trailer that has bikes on it that are chained to it or what have you. I'm assuming that these are motorcycles rather than regular pedaled bicycles, which again, while the vehicles is stationary with these motorcycles, movement or faster movement than the bicycles is implied. So my question here for the dreamer is there moments in the dreamer's life where they may be going at their own pace and speeding, with the desire to move things along more quickly, but is somehow stopped or halted or delayed in some way. And how does the dreamer feel about that? I mean, there seems to be some ambivalence here. Move, don't move. Go forward, stop. There's a hesitation, it seems, with regard to forward movement. And I wonder if there's some area of the dreamer's life that is like that. Now this friend with the trailer and the motorcycles, it's like, what does this friend evoke in the dreamer? What does this dreamer, this person represent? As I've said in the past, that the people in our dreams aren't necessarily themselves, but will represent aspects of ourselves, because it's our dream and it's for us and about us. So the people that appear in the dream are expressing some part of ourselves. The unconscious mind just hangs that thought, feeling, sensation, whatever it is, in a way that is familiar to us, usually. So you get to the part where this wife and friend, it seems, are in some kind of mood. What kind of mood and why? And I would ask the dreamer here, what kind of mood were they in? Was it a good mood, bad mood, indifferent mood? Was the wife upset because he had gone off biking with the sister-in-law? What was going on there? What was the mood about? And how did that make the dreamer feel? Then you get to the next part of the dream, and where the therapist, i.e. me, appears. And this is not an uncommon thing to have happen. As when I was doing counseling work in drug and alcohol counseling and bereavement counseling, clients would often, when they knew I worked with dreams, would often bring their dreams, and the dreams would provide messages for me to understand either that I was on the right track with something, or that I was off with the fairies, and needed to adopt a different tack. So it's not uncommon for clients to dream for their therapists. So it didn't surprise me too much that that I had appeared in the dreamer's dream. But what was interesting about it, it wasn't just that I was not only in the dream, but I was actively participating in the dream, in that I was engaged in a martial arts competition. And for people who know me, for many years, I played capoeira, which is from Brazil, a very athletic form of martial arts and very beautiful as well. But this person and I, who happened to be named Michael, and I were engaging in this capoeira game. And what is very specific about this is not only what the activity was and what the name of the person was. There's specifically, capoeira is not, even though it's a martial art and can do serious damage when you do it with the intent to harm, we say we play capoeira. It's something that is done in peace and is done in joy. And my master used to say, watch out when Sheila's smiling, because when she's having a really good time, she becomes really dangerous. And it's true. The more I laughed and enjoyed myself, the better my game became. But one of the things that is also very close to my heart is my spiritual life. And one of the beings that I call on quite frequently is the Archangel Michael all the time. So for me personally, the message in this was that yes, the archangel hears me and is playing with me. He's got my back, and that's a very comforting thought. So that was a little aside in that dream, but it was very significant to me, and I thank the dreamer for that because it's a very comforting thought. Now, moving on from there, the dreamer goes and has a conversation with a friend whom I'm assuming is female, though it wasn't specified. This conversation of this with this friend who reminds the dreamer of another friend who is female, um, makes me wonder. It's almost like something is coming third hand, so to speak. So I wonder who is this other person that this woman, supposedly the dreamer was conversing with, that reminds him of someone else. Who is that? And what does that person, either that he was talking to or that he was reminded of, um, evoke for him? What do these two persons mean to the dreamer? Now, during this conversation, the dreamer's low tops, new low tops, as it happens, got wet because he had stepped into an ornamental stream or puddle or something. Now, water can represent in psychological terms the emotions, and the image that came to me when I read this is somebody dipping their toes into the water, and in this case, emotional waters. And um, my question here for the dreamer was, well, how did he feel about getting his feet wet, even if it was, you know, just a kind of just dipping his foot in and stepping in this water and then stepping back out. There's also this implication that you're kind of like playing or playing at or playing around, because it's an ornamental fountain, or stream that he stepped in. That kind of not engaging with emotions at any great depth, just kind of putting toe in to kind of test the waters and then coming back out again. And I would ask the dreamer if there's any area of the dreamer's life that is like that, where they're just kind of testing the waters, really, literally, um, but not fully engaging with the process. Now, the location that this conversation with this person who reminds the dreamer of another person takes place, there's this notion of movement being implied. It's either taking place at a gas station on a highway, so it's like a rest stop, or it's the headquarters of a motor racing team. So, if you're talking about Formula One or something, you're talking about things that go pretty damn fast. But again, no movement is here. The movement is implied, but there's no movement forward. It's stuck or stationary, at least for a time. So, and I would ask again, is there an area of the dreamer's life where they're wanting to move forward, but somehow are just stationary, just stuck? Um, some of the things that came to me as I read this is like, being at a petrol station. And what do you do at a petrol station? You fill up the tank. So my question here for the dreamer is, are you filling your tank in some way, your emotional tank? And having to take a pause while you do that, like fill your tank before you can move forward again. Whereas this motor racing headquarters that it could be, It makes me wonder whether the dreamer is in his headquarters about something and not quite making a decision one way or the other. But there again, fast movement implied, but doesn't happen. So, what are all of the connections with all of this? First of all, except for the character Michael, all of the characters in this dream are female, including me. And again, that makes me come back to whether this shadow aspect of these, I mean, the anima aspect of this dream, because all of the women are connected to the dreamer in some way, whether it's a friend, a wife, a sister-in-law, me. It's all feminine energy, which is all about connection, relationship, emotions. So my question, big question here for the dreamer, is there a possible disconnect of some kind between the dreamer and their emotions? I mean, it just seems almost screaming that there's something about emotions and connection and relationship that is implied here, and not being addressed for some reason. The other thing is movement. Either things are moving slowly, like with the bicycles, they're moving rapidly, or implied rapid movement by airplanes, by the trailer with the motorcycles, with being at perhaps at a motor racing headquarters. So, but it's all stopped. There's no actual movement going on. Even with the bicycles, the dreamer is acting under his own power, but is stationary, isn't actually going anywhere. And it's just bizarre, this juxtaposition of movement being implied, but no movement actually taking place. And I have to ask the question yet again, is there some area of the dreamer's life that is temporarily stuck or halted for some reason, so that it's not either slow movement or fast movement, but no movement? And as I said, come back to, is there some area of the dreamer's life where there is some emotional connection that is missing, and causing this stop start kind of activity that seems to be implied in this dream? Uh, so my questions here, and something for the dreamer to think about, is what can the dreamer do to actually remove these blockages to forward movement? Because movement seems to be imminent, but there he's at a rest stop, or has stopped pedaling on this bike for a while, waiting for something to happen. So there's a rest stop or a pit stop, depending on whether it's where he was actually at, before racing or moving or flying ahead, on the journey again. So, as I said, with little dreams can have lots of information, and really be interested at some point to find out from the dreamer, how this has resonated with him. So there you have it. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and rest of the week. And let's see, I think, yeah, I may do one more live before the holidays, and then I'm going to take a little bit of break until the new year. I'll see how I feel. Thanks again, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.